Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was dark and lacked all color. I was lost.
Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was completely meaningless and borderline evil.
Hi, my name is Blake Wickham, and before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was awful. Everything was bland, everything was sort of grayish and darker, and it was awful. But then I discovered poetry power!
Entering my junior year of high school, I was free of any negative thoughts or feelings associated with poetry. I was a blank slate, and my English teacher filled this void with creative lessons that challenged me to read deeply and express myself openly. I remember coming home from school and writing crazy stream of conscious ramblings in my journal, and feeling like I was discovering a hidden power within myself. In retrospect, I know that most, if not all, of these poems were terrible, but it doesn't matter. I was either totally unaware of the badness of my poetry, or I really didn't care. The point is, I had become a poet, and while the skills I would need to write better poetry would develop later, my self-concept had changed forever. My teacher gave me a great gift that helped me understand myself, learn to think more deeply, and get through a tough period in life. As a middle school English teacher, I want to give this gift to all of my students. I believe that poetry is one of the most important things that students can be exposed to in school, and I believe that all students can learn to love reading and writing poetry. Poetry helps us understand how writers use language to express meaning in both powerful and subtle ways. Poetry expresses honest inner thoughts and raw emotions. Poetry is written in spoken language used in its highest and most concentrated form. Reading and writing poetry can lead to a richer understanding of oneself and one's place in the world. This deeper awareness grows as we gain confidence in this amazing art form. I truly believe that all students can learn to love reading and writing poetry, and I wanted to find out how to make it happen. I discovered the power of poetry, and my life began to flow fluidly. But if I hadn't, things would have been a lot more fragmented.
Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was very meaningless.
Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was dead and boring.
Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was nasty, brutish, and short.
Hi, my name is Miss Dearborn, and before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was in a van down by the river!
Discovered the power of poetry, my life was total frustration.
Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was a pile of cow crap.
Before I discovered the power of poetry, my life was like living in a McDonald's dumpster.
Discover the power of poetry, and your life will be